Welcome back to Quick Python with PageKey Solutions. Today we'll be talking about error handling. As always, we'll follow our learning checklist, starting with why we're doing this, what we'll end up with at the end of the video, and how we do it. While it sounds like a boring topic, error handling is actually very important. We'll start with the immediate impact that we'll see today. It will allow us to control user inputs properly. We can specify what kind of input we want, a number or a string, and when we don't receive that, we can take appropriate action. We can either reprompt the user or just say some sort of error message and quit. Later on, you're going to expand this skill to be able to gracefully handle any exception your program may encounter. So when we run our program, we'll see that there are kind of two mini programs within it. The first one, you just enter a number, and in this case I'm going to not enter a number, and it says that's not a number. So we handled the error. If we actually enter a number, it says thanks for entering, here's the square of that number. So that's the first part. And the second part of the program, it continues executing. It says enter your best guess at pi. If you actually enter your guess, it'll give you the decimal that you're off by. If you enter not a number, it'll loop continuously. And as many times as you try to enter something that's not a number, it's going to yell at you every time until you finally put in a real number and it gives you how far off you were. On line 3, you'll see a familiar example of getting a string from the user. We can guarantee to ourselves, hey, that's a string. Then we're going to use something new, try and accept. For the try block in the indented part, we're going to try something out that may throw an error. In this case, line 5 is the thing that's going to throw an error. We set number equal to an integer converted from the raw number string. That's what int does. It converts a string to an integer, and if it doesn't like the input value, if it can't figure out how to turn it into an integer, it'll throw a value error. If we're successful, line 6 prints out the square of that number. If we're not successful, we move on to line 7. In the accept block for value error, it just prints out that's not a number and keeps going. Normally, if we didn't handle that error, it would completely stop the program, but thanks to try and accept, we're able to continue execution. The second part of our program actually has an infinite loop that waits until it gets the right value from the user. We start out by setting myPy to none, and then we have a while loop that continues. As long as myPy is none, it's going to keep executing. So we say raw myPy, my guess at pi, and it gets a string from the user, and then it tries to convert it to a float. If it has an error, it says no can do, it failed, and then since we're in a while loop, it'll go around again and again and again until the user actually puts in the right value. Notice that since we're throwing an error when it converts to float, myPy never gets set. So myPy remains none, just like we set it on line 14. This is what allows the while loop to continue executing over and over until we get a valid input for myPy. Finally, at the end, we have our first import statement on line 24. We have to import math to get access to the pi variable that is built into Python. Normally, you would put this right at the very top of the file, but for simplicity's sake, I just put it right next to the statement that actually uses it. Line 25, we just print the difference between actual pi and the user's guess at pi. And if you're wondering what ABS is, it's absolute value. This way we don't get a negative or positive number if they were above or under pi. We just know it's always going to be positive. This is how far off you were. That's all for Quick Python 3 error handling from PageKey Solutions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.